Hello, I'm James Ingram. You just saw a few seconds of the famous James Ingram, the singer. I'm one of the other James Ingrams. In a recent November 2024 interview, Mike Wolf of MTH Trains made some comments about how difficult it was to change the logo number using DCC, which I feel compelled to comment on. It's not really quite that difficult. Let's listen to Mike's comments. And by the way, the links to his complete talk are down below in the description.
And it's always been like only 20% of the HO modelers actually use DCC. And then when you go and dive into those guys, all they do is start it up and use the speed and the horn and the bell because that's all they can remember. I challenge anyone to try to change the address of a DCC engine unless they're an expert in that. But a new guy getting a new DCC system, say, go ahead and change the address. It'd take them all day to try and get so frustrated to figure out he quit before that. Now,
let's demonstrate what's actually involved in changing a DCC loco number. Here we have an MTH Proto Sounds 3 PCC car. These PCC cars have the same decoders in them as the MTH diesel and steam locomotives. As you probably know, the MTH O-gauge logos that are Proto Sound 3, made since about 2011, can run on DCC as well as MTH's proprietary DCS. The premier models have a DCC DCS switch on the bottom. The Rail King models, like this PCC car, have the slot for the switch to be added on the bottom. By the way, we're using a 25-year-old NCE unit here. The cab is actually so old it says you can't see it. The cab is so old it actually says North Coast Engineering on it rather than NCE. All DCC locos, including MTH's Proto Sound 3, come from the factory set to default number 3 when you take them out of the box. All DCC locos by default, when they come from the factory, they're set to a default address of 3, and then the user typically changes them from the default address of 3 to whatever the cab number is of the loco. This is car 3. It's been set to the default. We'll change it to 1003. But first, notice it says loco 3 here. And if we put in a speed command of 1 for a second, you can see it responds to that number 3. Now we're going to change the number. So we push programming on the main down here in the lower left corner. And then we push the enter button to confirm that. It says program loco on main. We push the enter button to confirm that. Program loco 3, we're going to push enter to confirm that. We're going to change the address, so we'll push 1 for address. We're going to push 2 for short. We're going to push 1 for the long address because short addresses go to 127 and we're setting it to 1003, so we need to use the long address. Push a 1 for that, enter 1003, hit the enter, and you notice the car gave a succession of beeps, which sound locomotives typically do to confirm that they understood and received the settings. So now if we push the speed, you can see it responds to car 1003, whereas before it was responding to car 3. So it's not an all-day project to change the loco number, like was said in the video. It's about 5 steps or so, as we just demonstrated.
an HO and ever ran a DCC system with function F1 for startup and F3 I think is for the horn and I can't even remember all the F this and F that. I like that they used the right letter, but it was back in in the 70s, and it was great technology, cutting edge technology for the 70s, but not today. So that's why Model Railroader has served. But they didn't. Even the controllers don't say horn. It should just say horn, not F3. I get so frustrated.
And as far as the comment about the buttons for horn, bell, and headlight, even on this 25-year-old unit we're using, they're clearly labeled. You can see we've got the horn button here. We've got the bell button here. And we've got the headlight here that we can use to toggle on and off our headlight. So those are labeled on even these older units that came from NCE. These Proto 3 PCC cars and Brill cars, like you see here, haven't been made since I think about 2018, although MTH is still selling the small four-wheel bump and go cars. These 4-axle Proto 3 PCCs and Brills are almost impossible to find, either new or used. I'm guessing these 4-axle streetcars maybe didn't sell very well, as you typically need a whole loop of track to run a PCC or a Brill on, and it's not that exciting having just a single streetcar on a loop of track. However, using an NCE DCC Programmable Train Controller, known as an NCE Mini Panel by its official name, that sells for about $50, we've been able to automatically control up to 7 PCCs on one main line, as you're seeing here in video 836, which is fast forwarded as you're seeing it. And the earlier video 831 shows the same controller automatically operating 6 N-gauge Bachmann DCC Peter Witt streetcars on one mainline loop of track.
This is a number 67, 7th Avenue car.
Video 837 shows 4 MTH Proto Sound Brill cars like this operating automatically on a point-to-point system. So the point is you can use DCC in the NCE DCC Programmable Controller to add some excitement to your O-gauge streetcar operation. And I've been putting notices in the TCA's National Headquarters News written publication trying to get O-gaugers interested in doing this DCC train programming so they can show their kids and grandkids how to do it, and the kids can get introduced to the concept of programming by experimenting with their own model trains. So here's some questions. Does this DCC system seem that difficult for you to change the Loco number? Also, does it seem that difficult for you to find the headlight, bell, and horn buttons on this 25-year-old system? And do you think the DCC programmable controllers would get your kids or grandkids interested in programming? And finally, do you think the programmable controllers, like you've seen here in these pieces of videos, could add some excitement to your O-gauge streetcar operations? Please let me know any opinions you have in the comments below. Even negative comments help a video's ratings, apparently, and my videos typically don't get many comments. Thanks for watching.